Why does someone crave to be tied up, humiliated, disciplined, whipped? What do they get out of this sexual domination? In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why. And it's probably not what you think, but knowing why will give you a deep understanding into the girl's psychology. And being able to do this is a huge attraction trigger. But not only that, this is the first step if you want to learn to be more dominant in and out of the bedroom. More women, or really even men, are into BDSM than you might think. It might have been a little bit of a giveaway when every single girl and her mom were reading 50 Shades of Grey. But if you look at the studies, depending which one, around 40 to 70% of people will say they're into BDSM, and around 20% of those are actually actively participating. So before we get into all the reasons as to why women love BDSM, let's quickly explain what BDSM is. So the abbreviation is BD, which is going to be bondage, tying girls up, discipline, so having rules, punishment, reward. Then you have the DS part of that, which is the dom and submissive. So this is the power exchange. And then the SM, so sadism, masochism, which is basically either liking to inflict the pain or getting pleasure out of receiving the pain. So the first question we have to ask ourselves, are these girls just sick, crazy, or like abused as kids, and this is why they are the way that they are? And look, I'm going to be honest, the first time I met a girl and I was fucking her and then she turned around and wanted me to actually hurt her, not just spank her, not just hit, but like inflict pain, I was like saying a prayer. I was like, someone please fix this woman. But no, it's not the case. People in BDSM don't have any high levels of childhood abuse or any high levels of mental health issues. If anything, the data actually shows favorable psychological characteristics. So for those that practice BDSM, they're usually less neurotic, more extroverted, more open to new experience, more conscientious, and less rejection sensitive. I also had this bad first impression that everyone that goes to these BDSM clubs or sex clubs are a little bit like weird and eccentric. And it almost felt like the Dungeons and Dragons of sex. Like it felt like almost the same crowd. But then you have to realize like all these clubs are a little bit different depending on the ones you go to. Only 5% of people that are into BDSM actually go to these clubs. And even though I described it like that, they were all so welcoming and kind and accepting. And it was really kind of like a nice community experience. But if we actually, once again, refer to the survey data, they found that according to this data, those into BDSM tend to be white, well-educated, young, and once again, don't show high rates of mental health or relationship problems. So if these bitches aren't crazy, where does it come from? So 80% of girls will say it's like intrinsic. They feel like it was always a part of themselves. They developed this when, they first kind of got into sex, and they said like, it's always just felt a part of like who I am. And then you have the other 20% that feel like, okay, someone introduced this to me, or there was like an external cause, or, it wasn't always a part of me, but it kind of was like learned and developed. However, one theory that makes so much sense to me is if we just look at this through an evolutionary point of view. So what is the best mating strategy for women? And it's going to be being attracted to that power exchange, being attracted to the dominant man of the group, because he's more likely going to have better genes, bit more resources. He's got a better ability to protect that woman and her children. So this is just evolutionary, more successful dating strategy. So I think over time, women just did become attracted to that power exchange. That being said, just like with every sexual inclination or fetish, there's going to be like so many factors that actually come into why women are into this. And if we look at BDSM, apart from evolution and mate strategy, people may see it even as a form of pleasure or like some fun. It may be just a facet of having like a really high sex drive and wanting to like broaden that sexual repertoire and experience. So that's why we can look at like evolutionary or like intrinsically like why women might be into this. But why do they like it, right? This isn't just like an internal drive. Women really enjoy this. And even girls that don't feel like it was always a part of them really enjoy this. So what are the actual benefits women get out of this? Why do they like being dominated and humiliated and spanked and hurt? Like what is going on in their body and mind? So let's explore that a little bit now. The first is going to be power plays. And I think of this as like balances. And so essentially, if you have a girl that is used to being in control every minute of her life, so these might be the lawyers or women like manager positions, but they feel like they've got a lot of responsibility all the time. There's always this pressure on them. They're always working. They can balance this sensation through sexual exploration. So now when they're with a man, they can say, listen, I don't want to be in charge anymore. I don't want any responsibility. You take all of that. You tell me exactly what to do. You set all the rules. You guide me. I do not want to make one decision in this sexual experience. And that can feel very relieving and nice and almost like a way, I've heard women describe it as like recharging their batteries in a way. And even just that experience, if we think about pleasure, the more you can kind of get out of your head and not think so much about what to do, all the decisions, that responsibility, the more you can actually be in your body and feel those sensations and pleasure. In cases where women have encountered sexual assault, reenacting these experiences can help take psychological control over it. You can make it a more positive experience through eroticizing that power exchange. This acts almost like a form of exposure therapy for PTSD, where you're facing these trauma-related memories in a way where you can slowly reduce the emotional impact over time. But of course, I would never encourage using BDSM as a way to get over trauma or sexual abuse. Obviously, you want to get therapy and treat it in the conventional way, but I have noticed a lot of women will come to me and say this journey through BDSM has really allowed them to almost like take that power back and get through this experience, and they have found it very positive. In a similar way, this can also be very cathartic for emotions. I've had girls that have been like very stressed or they're going through things, there's a lot going on. Something about letting everything go and having these huge amounts of emotional upswings and downswings during sex. You're tied up, you're getting hit. It just builds so much emotion that it acts as a release. I've had girls at the end of sessions, end of orgasms or end of impact play, where they'll just break out in tears. And they'll say like, I don't know why, but it just feels good just letting everything go. And so I'm not sure the exact mechanism here, but there is something about this raw, primal, like up and down and experience of emotions through BDSM that allows women to let a lot of this go. So it can also be cathartic. The subspace. If you've ever had a girl describe her sexual experience in spiritual terms, or she said she's felt very like floaty or on drugs or like mushy, she's probably talking about this altered level of consciousness. And there's something special about doing it in this sexualized context, because obviously if you're getting like tooth pulled out or you stub your toe, women aren't going to feel this like incredible amount of pleasure and like this altered experience. But usually it is from like a prolonged, intense, anticipated and consensual sexualized stress and painful stimulation. Because what this does, these stress and these endorphins that actually get released, they act on opioid receptors. So it acts in a very similar way that like morphine would. It gives an analgesic and it also gives this sense of euphoria. I guess another way to think about it is runner's high. This is a similar type of thing where you're experiencing these huge amounts of stress and you get endorphins released through your body. And guys, there's also a similar space that you can experience, okay? It's called the transformation space. Basically what this is, you sign up for a free call with me. We go through your goals, figure out how to get your shit sorted in 12 weeks using the UMP method. At the end of this, you're also going to feel amazing, okay? You're going to be able to choose the type of girl that you want to choose. You're going to be able to go on dates. You're going to have amazing sex. It's going to be all fun times. So if that's something you're interested in, there's a link down below, free call with myself. Mindfulness is another state that women can achieve during BDSM. And this is really important because if you have girls that typically are a little bit anxious, so maybe you go down them, for example, and you're eating their pussy, but now you can tell they're a bit distracted. They're thinking like, what am I got for that work meeting tomorrow that I haven't prepared for? What am I doing for dinner? What's my shopping list? Do I look good right now? What does he think of me? All this is going on. And why are they in their head like that? They just can't experience pleasure. And you might know this as a guy. Sometimes like if you're not getting hard and that's all you're thinking about is just going through your head, you are not going to enjoy any sort of touch. Like it's so hard to get hard at that point. And it's the same for girls. It's hard for them to come or experience pleasure when they got all that going on. So BDSM, again, the idea of like inflicting pain, tying a girl up, making decisions for her, allows her to really focus in on the here and now. That increased level of concentration, kind of like that you might feel if you're playing an instrument or playing chess or playing sport, it's kind of like you're there and that's all that matters, is how women can feel during BDSM. I've had this so much so that some of the girls I've been with have hit me up and just been like, I've had such a stressful week. I need to relax. Can I please come over and get hit by your cane? And we might think like, relax, what the f***? That sounds insane. But think about it. If you're there anticipating the next strike, you get hit and it just runs through your body. That's all you can feel. There's nothing else that is going to get you out of your head more than that. The next part is feeling wanted. There's something about that primal drive where a woman just sees a man that just or wants her, needs her, and just takes her in that very dominant way. You feel desired and like wanted as a woman. That's also kind of nice. BDSM can be a lot of fun. Okay, girls might get bored with this mundane, typical missionary vanilla sex. Something really interesting and exciting about having rope and toys and getting spanked and something different. This is like extreme sports in a way. There's an adrenaline behind this. But also girls can get a huge sense of accomplishment. In a way that climbing Mount Everest might give you that same sense, except this way, instead of Mount Everest, it's like how much pain can I handle and how much can I get through this? And women also like that challenge. Relationship intimacy. There's no way that BDSM doesn't bring you closer together with you and the girl that you're with, because this requires so much communication, so much trust, so much vulnerability. There's even studies that suggest BDSM engagement may be associated with greater couple bonding. And this just makes so much sense to me. Even if we think of outside of sex, if you go on a date with a girl, just the bar, and you grab a drink, it's kind of mundane and boring, you do the same thing, sure, it could be great, you could have chemistry, but there's nothing really adding to that experience. But you could go to the same bar and something spontaneously happens, okay? Maybe you're like, hey, fuck it, let's go do this and this. And so it could even be something negative, like maybe you left your phone behind, you guys are stressing, you have to catch the cab and go back, and all that emotion adds to the experience, adds to the intimacy that you guys share. And that's why some girls, they just enjoy BDSM for the way it brings them closer to their partner. So guys, now you know why women love it so much. Okay, it can improve communication, they can explore and stay away from boring sex, they can have bodily release of endorphins similar to morphine that feels euphoric, they can enter a meditative, floaty, altered states of consciousness where they feel relaxed in their body and increase the sensations of pleasure. So guys, I'm going to be making more content around BDSM, about how to be more dominant in the bedroom. So if that's something you're interested in, then hit the sub below in a very consensual impact play BDSM type of way, but smash that sub. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Peace.